This problem is from section 3.3 in the book. It is from page 134, and it's problem number 1. For problem number 1, I want to show that the statement not Q then not P is equivalent to P then Q. And I will do this by using a truth table. So I'm going to start setting up the table. My top line is for the titles, the column titles. And I'll have P and I'll have Q. And then because I have P, Q, there will be just 4 lines on this table. So I'll divide this up into 4 lines. And I'll do the usual PQ. Q will alternate. TF, TF. And then P, I'm going to have 2 T's and 2 F's. I'm going to go for this one first. P, then Q. We did this in class on Thursday. The truth table for P, then Q. I'm going to number my columns 1, 2, 3. So this will be column 1 connected by then to column 2. So it's if 1, then 2. If P, then Q. So I want to think of this as a promise. If P happens, then Q will happen. The statements we used in class were, if P is, I get paid tomorrow, and Q is, I will give you $10. P then Q is, if I get paid tomorrow, then I will give you $10. In the first case, P is true, I got paid. Q is true, I gave you $10. I did not break my promise, that is true. On the second line, P is true, which means I got paid. Q is false. I did not give you $10, so I broke the promise. That's false. If I get paid tomorrow, then I will give you $10. On the third line, I get paid is false, but I gave you $10 anyway. Regardless, if I get paid is false, then the promise is not broken. There was no binding contract at that point. So if P is false, Q is true, the statement if P then Q is also true. On the last line, I get paid is false. I did not give you $10. The promise was if I get paid tomorrow, then I give you $10. Well, neither one happened, but the promise wasn't broken. Since P did not happen, there was no obligation to pay or not pay. So column 3 gives me the truth table for P then Q. You have to know the truth table for P then Q. Now I need to try to build not Q then not P. And I want to show equivalence, so I'm going to use my little technique of double line right there to say, I've got the first one done. Now let me go after the other one. To build not Q then not P, I will need a column for not Q. This will be column number 4. And it's going to be the not of column number 2. So I'm looking at column 2, go the opposite. In column 2, the first line is true. So column 4, the first line is false. The next line is false, so in column 4 it's true. The next line is true, so in column 4 it's false. And then The last line, column 2 is false, so column 4 is going to be true. For the fifth column, I need to do not P. So I'm going to write 5 at the top of there. And column 5 is going to be the not of column 1. So if column 1 is a T, column 5 is F. Here, column 1 is T, column 5 is F. On line 3, column 1 is F, so column 5 is T. And then on line 4, column 1 is F, so column 5 is going to be T. Extend this just a little bit more. And I'm going to do not Q, then not P. Column 6 will be column 4 connected by then to column 5. So if you're using the statements we used in class, if I get paid tomorrow, then I give you $10. Well, I get paid is false. I give you $10 is false. But if I did not get paid, well, I'm under no obligation. So the promise was not broken. That's true. So remember, false then false is a true statement. True then false. What's happening here? I got paid tomorrow is true. I did not give you $10. I broke the promise. That's F. On the third line, I get paid is false. I'm under no obligation to keep a promise. It's not binding, although I gave you $10 anyway. But if I get paid, if the first part of the if then is false, there is no promise to break. On the last line, I get paid tomorrow is true. I gave you $10 is true. So the promise wasn't broken. That's true. Now for problem 1, they said show that these two statements are equivalent. Not Q, then not P is equivalent to P, then Q. If you look down at the columns, true, false, true, true, they are the same. So they are equivalent. Now the way we would write equivalence for truth tables or for statements in logic, we could write it like this. I'm going to use parentheses and I'm going to give this one first since they gave that one first in the book. But it wouldn't really matter. Not Q, then not P is equivalent. It's not just an equal sign. It's this double line, double arrow is equivalent to P, then Q. And there you have problem number 1 from page 134.